Hello everyone, my name is Marco Landry and today I'm going to be documenting the process of changing the oil on a Yamaha R3 motorcycle. I'll talk about the material needed, what type of filter, what type of oil, what are the other components needed to complete this process. I'll also be talking about the tools, what are the best tools needed to do this type of work. And throughout the video, I'll talk about best practices and tips that should make your life easier to complete that process. So stay tuned and we'll start right now. Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of my bike transformation project where I will take my 2018 Yamaha R3 and convert it from a daily commuter to a track-only bike. So the bike is brand new, only has a few hundred kilometers on it, and if you watch the previous episodes, you will know that I've replaced quite a few things, but the reason why I'm doing this short video today is to show you how to change the oil because I had to replace the clutch. And when I replaced the clutch, obviously, I had to flush a bit of oil, and now instead of just topping up the oil, I will be doing a full replacement of the oil and also changing the oil filter at the same time. Fairly easy process to do. An oil change will probably take you about 10-15 minutes, 20 minutes at most once your fairings are removed. You don't need a lot of tools. You will need a 12mm wrench in order to remove the drain plug, and you will need some sort of pliers to remove your oil filter. I really like these, they work quite well. I have other pliers as well. The channel locks are working quite well. If you have some channel locks that are big enough, you can certainly use that. I also have some of these as well. You can see there's different sizes here. So this one works well if it's not too tight, because when you pull on it, this strap will tighten around the filter, will grab the filter, allows you to wrench it or unthread it because you get a bit more lever by using that handle as well. You can also, if you're very patient, use one of these. In my opinion, they are complete garbage. They don't really work well. But if you don't have anything else and if you've had success with this in the past, you can certainly use one of these where you use your wrench on top of this, and when you're turning, the idea is that this is going to close and grab the filter. Quite often, though, I find that they are not grabbing very well. So in order for this to work properly, I normally have to duct tape around the filter itself so that I can get more or better grip in order for this to work properly. The other things that you will need as well are funnels, or just one funnel. So decide what works well for you, and you can use one of these so you don't have oil all over your covers. I also personally like to use a measuring cup. The measuring cup, you've got different sizes obviously, but the measuring cup allows me to be very accurate when I'm topping up the oil, and I normally take some notes and keep a really good logbook on what I did and when, and also the brand of oil I'm using, the exact quantity of oil I'm using, and over time I can see if there's any variations. So yeah, this is totally optional. I find it a lot easier as well when I'm pouring the oil, because the funnel or it's easier to pour with this one. Basically, I don't know the word I'm looking for right now, but by having that pointy nozzle here, you can easily pour oil into your engine bay. In terms of oil, obviously the R3 has a small engine block, so it doesn't require a lot of oil. If you plan on just replacing the oil without replacing the filter, you will need 1.8 liter of oil. If you replace the filter, then you will need 2.1 liter of oil, approximately 2.1 liter of oil, or fresh oil, to top up everything and be at the right level of oil. If you do a full disassembly of your engine and you are topping up the oil again, then you will need 2.4 liter of oil. In my case, I'm using the 10W40 viscosity, just because this is, I live in Canada and I'm riding in sometimes cooler weather, and that seems to work quite well for me. The shop manual has different options as well. So obviously if you're living in a warmer climate, you can change the viscosity and go with something totally different. But for me in Canada and most of the Eastern US, this is what you would need. The brand is totally up to you. I'm a big believer in the Motul product. It's been working well for me. I'm using full synthetic oil in my bikes, in all my bikes. My dirt bike, my Ducati, my 2R6 are all running that same type of oil. So I'm always running synthetic oil and always products by Motul as well. If you want to get more information about different quality of oil, I saw this gentleman on YouTube called the Sports Tourer. So sports with a Z, the Sports Tourer, and I'll link this down below. And this individual is comparing this oil again, the Castrol Power One oil, and it looks, at least when you're comparing the stats, that the Castrol Power One would be a cheaper option in terms of price and would offer better quality. So I'm definitely going to try this in the future, but for now, as you can see, I have quite a bit of oil that should last me at least at the season. And at some point I might try the Castrol Power One as well. But take a look. The Sports Tourer did a lab test and compares both products. So it's very interesting to see. They're very similar, but obviously it's a bit cheaper to go with Castrol Power One. And if it offers better performance, I might consider switching to this brand. The other thing that needs to be done when you are doing your oil change is to decide what type of filter you want. So you can use K&N, you can use, I think Vortex even makes them now. I'm using the HiFlo filter for now. I'll switch to K&N later this season. I just had a stash of these that I purchased for the previous track season, so I still have a few of these units left. So I'm gonna keep using these until I'm done. I'll then switch the K&N filters. The reason why I like K&N and HiFlo is because you can use a 17mm wrench, and you can wrench by using, or you can thread it on and off by using this nut that's welded on the top of the filter. So great concept. It's a lot easier to use this than using one of these pliers that I showed you earlier. So in my opinion, a lot easier and a lot simpler, believe me. And the nice thing about these as well is that, I don't know if the camera will be able to see this, but they are already pre-drilled so that you can safety wire them for the track. So you don't have to put a clamp on and then safety wire the clamp to the bike. So it's a lot less headaches, and yeah, so I really love these, big fan. And on top of this, the other thing that you will need obviously is a lot of rags or shop towels to clean up the mess, because oil will drip, so you'll definitely need some of this as well. So if you're still here, this is what's required, and let's move over to the bike and get started. Okay, so I've already removed the fairings from the bike, and the first thing you need to do when you get to this point here is that we will need to remove the oil filter and also the drain plug. So I'll start with the drain plug. So again, in order to remove this, you will need a 12mm wrench. So there we go. So I'm just gonna unscrew this, make sure that you have something to catch the oil underneath, and you also probably need some paper towel or some shop towel in order to grab or to clean anything that might fall on your ends or on the side of the bike. So once this is loose, we can just pull it out and the oil will start flowing. And I will also just clean this up now, make sure that this nut is, or this bolt is always nice and clean. There's a little crush washer as well on top of this, so I'm not going to replace the crush washer because it's fairly new. The shop manual will or is recommending that you replace this, but as you can see here, it might be hard to see, but there's a little crush washer or gasket that's on top of this. Again, I'm not going to replace it, I'll just put it back on. You decide what's best for you in this case, but I've had a lot of success in the past by keeping this for a 2 or 3 oil change with no issues at all. So we'll leave this here for now, and now that you can see that the flow of oil is a bit slower, we will use this tool here and see if we can remove this oil filter. It's a bit tight. When you're doing this as well, you want to make sure that you grab the top end of that filter, because this is where it's stronger. If you go right in the middle, it has a tendency to collapse a bit more. So here we go. So when you do this, obviously you will have some oil that will drip from there as well. This is quite normal, so not a big deal if there's a bit of oil on top of the engine case. And obviously you need to dispose of this oil properly. Don't just dump it anywhere. Be cautious of what you do with your oil. You should have a recycling center close to your place where you can just bring this over and they'll dispose of this properly for you. And same thing with the oil filter. Do not just throw this in the garbage. Be responsible and bring it to a recycling center where they'll recycle it properly. And again, that's all depending on your local laws. So while this is dripping now, I'll go on the other side and we will remove the oil cap. And by removing the oil cap, it should flow a little bit better as well here. All right, so now that there's no more oil dripping, or it's dripping very slowly, I'm just going to take some paper towel and just clean up that surface here. Make sure that it's nice and clean. There's no junk that will go into the treads, and also remove all the extra oil that's been dripping out, and make sure that it doesn't stay on the side of the engine here. So once this is done, again, I'm gonna put the oil drain plug back in. Yeah, so make sure that when you replace this or when you reassemble this, that your crush washer is there. So we're gonna just go in, clean this one more time here, make sure it's nice and clean, and start threading this. And make sure that you are threading this properly. It should go in very, very easily. You don't need to force it. And I'm just gonna snug it up with my fingers, and then we will replace the oil filter as well. So before replacing the oil filter, what I like to do normally is I've already poured the oil in my measuring cup here. So I have exactly 2 liters of oil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some of this oil into the filter here. And I'm not going to fill it totally up to the top, but what I want is just to put enough oil in there so that the engine doesn't run without oil for too long. So this is totally up to you. You don't have to do this. I like to do this because I think it's a best practice that should be done all the time. Also, what you want to do is take your finger and just make sure that all that seal or that gasket around has been oiled properly, so it allows you to have a much better seal, but also that it's going to be nice and smooth, and it's going to be able to sit properly on the casing. So once this is done, you're just going to have to be fairly quick with this, and it's okay if you have a bit of oil that's going to drip. That's not a big deal. I'm going to take some paper towel and just be ready for wiping the excess here. So we go. Once you have this, you simply go on top and we will start threading this here. So the torque specs for the drain bolt is 20 nanometer, and the torque spec for the oil filter is 17 nanometer. So you don't need to have a lot of torque on this. You just need to have enough. I'll just go as tight as you can with your hands, and normally a quarter turn should be sufficient with your wrench. And the drain bolt, normally I just go just tight enough so that I can feel the crush washer going in, and when it starts to offer quite a bit of resistance, I stop. And same thing here, we're going to take the 17 millimeter wrench and just go probably just about maybe a quarter turn, maybe half a turn, because I guess it was a bit loose here. All right, so everything is solid here. We are ready to drop the oil into the engine compartment. All right, so here we are. So again, the drain bolt has been put back on, and also the filter, the oil filter is back on. Everything has been tightened to specs, and now what we're going to do is that we will start adding the oil. So I have exactly 2 liters of oil here. We'll start with this and see if we need more after that. All right, and when you put your cap back on, make sure again that you have a nice rubber around it, like a little seal or gasket, to make sure that nothing is spitting out, or there's no oil spitting out of your engine when it gets warm. So I can see on the window here on the side that it's exactly where it should be, but my bike's not level right now, so I'll put the front stand to make sure that the bike is properly leveled, and I'll take a look at it again after that. Obviously, when you do this, you would start your engine, let your engine run for 2-3 minutes, let it warm up, and after it's at operating temperature, shut it down and then measure, and that will give you the proper indication, see if you have the right level of oil. In my case, the battery is not in yet, so I'm not able to start it now. But I'm pretty confident that will be the right amount of oil. So you can see it's it's in between the 2 lines, or at the top of just at the top of the second line. So that just means that it's perfect. Once I get it running again, that oil will just spread around the engine, and it should go back to exactly where it needs to be. All right, guys, so that's it for the oil change. As you can tell, it was fairly easy and painless to do. Let me tell you, it gets easier the more often you do it. The first time might be a bit more challenging. I think that for those of you who are riding the R3 on the road, removing the fairing will be the most challenging part. I think changing the oil is fairly easy. So one thing I did not mention, guys, that for those of you who have this multi-function display still installed, you will have an oil change indicator that will come on at some point telling you that you need to change your oil. So normally that indicator will come on your display at 1,000 kilometer or 600 miles, and then at 5,000 kilometer or 3,000 miles. And then after that, for every increments of 5,000 kilometer or 3,000 miles, you will have this light that will be displayed telling you that you need to change your oil. Once you change your oil, you have to reset that oil change trip meter value. So it's very well documented in the user manual, but basically you just need to select the oil change trip meter and press the reset button for 1 second. And then when the values are flashing, you just press and hold that button for another 3 seconds, and you will have like a full reset on the amount of mileage for your next oil change. So that's something that needs to be done. Obviously in my case, because I got the new M3 dash, I'm no longer using this, so I'm not seeing that light flashing when an oil change is due. So that's it, folks. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, post them below, and hopefully we'll see you soon.